I've told you brutal cases. I've told you unbelievable cases. Cases that made you check your locks at night. Cases that made you question everything you thought you knew about people. But this one is different. This isn't brutal. This isn't even unbelievable. This is just weird. The kind of weird that makes you stop mid-scroll and go, wait, what? The kind of weird where after I finish telling you this story, you're going to open Google and search it yourself. Not because you don't trust me, but because your brain simply won't accept that this can happen to a person. A man, a hotel room, locked from the inside. No signs of a struggle, no signs of robbery, no marks on his body. And yet, inside, his intestines were torn apart. 2 ribs were shattered, and his heart had a hole in it. The doctors called it a murder. The police had no clue how, and the truth, when it finally came out, was so bizarre that even the killer himself couldn't believe he got away with it. Stay with me, because this one is going to mess with your head. But before we go any further, you're watching 12 a.m. Show, where we cover real cases, real deaths, real mysteries, no clickbait, no fake drama, just the truth, no matter how strange it gets. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now, because once this story starts, there's no stopping. And smash that like button. It takes 1 second, and it helps more people find stories like this one. To understand this case, we need to go to Louisiana, USA. The year is 2010. Meet Greg Fenikin, 55 years old, owner of a highly successful landmine and minerals company. A man who had built something real, something that mattered. He had mines across the mountains of Louisiana, extracting minerals and supplying them across the entire country. But success comes with a price, and for Greg, that price was the road. Every Monday, without fail, he'd drive from his home in Louisiana all the way to his main office in Beaumont, Texas. He'd manage his business through the week, and every Friday evening, he'd drive back home to his family. Greg wasn't just a businessman, he was a family man. The kind of man who, no matter where he was in the country, would call his wife Susie every single night before bed. Without exception, without excuse. He was also the kind of boss who'd give you the shirt off his back, literally. If a worker needed something, Greg would provide it. Humble, the kind of person you don't expect bad things to happen to. And yet, that's exactly what happened. September 15th, 2010, Greg is in Beaumont for a business trip. Instead of heading back to his office, he decides to stay overnight. He books a room at the MCM Elegante Hotel, Beaumont, Texas, room 348. He checks in at 5:30 p.m. The room is neat, clean, perfect. He steps out, picks up snacks, chocolate, cold drinks, beer, cigarettes. Comes back, lays it all out on a towel on his bed like a tray. Turns on the AC, flicks on the TV. At 7:30 p.m., right on schedule, he calls Susie, talks to his kids, asks how everyone's doing. "I'm in the room now. I'll watch some TV, have a smoke, eat my snacks. I'll be home Friday evening, don't worry." He hangs up. Then, Greg decides he wants popcorn. He pulls out a microwave popcorn packet he bought, puts it in the oven, turns it on, and the lights go out. The oven had tripped the MCB, the circuit breaker, not just his room. 6 rooms on that floor lost power. Greg calls reception. An electrician arrives within 8 minutes, fixes the circuit, comes to room 348. Greg apologizes. The electrician says, "No big deal." The electrician leaves. Greg makes his popcorn, eats, watches TV, goes to sleep. A perfectly ordinary night, or so everyone thought. Because what nobody knew was what was happening in the room right next door, room 349. Here's the thing about hotel walls. They look solid, they look thick, but the truth is, in most budget and mid-range hotels, Those walls are little more than drywall and plaster. And on the other side of that wall from Greg, 3 men, a bottle of whiskey, and a loaded 9mm pistol. Let me introduce you to Lance, 31 years old, Beaumont local. That evening, September 15th, 2010, Lance was in the best mood of his life. Why? Because he had finally gotten his hands on something he'd been dreaming about. A 9mm pistol, brand new, his very first weapon. Now here's where it starts to get uncomfortable. Lance had a history. Multiple drunk driving charges, several DUI accidents, police records for drunken fights with neighbors. And yet, somehow, in America, this man walked into a store and walked out with a firearm. No questions, no red flags, no second thoughts. He called his 2 friends, showed them the gun. They decided to celebrate, bought alcohol, needed a place to sit. So they checked into the MCM Elegante Hotel, room 349, right next to Greg. By 8 p.m., they were already drinking heavily. By 10 p.m., the alcohol had taken over. And then Lance, drunk, loud, full of himself, pulled out the gun. His friends immediately tensed up. Put it away. Stop messing around. This isn't funny. But Lance was in show-off mode. He started aiming it at his friends, pretending to fire, explaining how it worked, spinning it around. His friends grabbed his hand. Put it down. Lance laughed and pulled the trigger. Now here's what you need to picture. The bullet left the gun. It hit the wall between room 349 and room 348. It passed clean through the drywall. And at that exact moment, Greg was getting out of bed. The theory that makes the most sense? Around 10:30 p.m., Greg felt cold. He reached for the AC remote, which was on the floor near his bed. He was bending forward to pick it up. In that bent-over position, the bullet entered through the wall, struck him from behind in his most private area, tore through his lower abdomen, shredded his intestines, cracked 2 ribs, and lodged itself directly into his heart. Greg never made a sound. He simply collapsed onto the carpet. AC remote in one hand, a cigarette in the other, still burning, slowly turning to ash. The door was locked from the inside. His wallet was untouched. Over $1,000 inside. No bruises, no external injuries. To anyone looking in, it was a peaceful death. Back in room 349, the 3 men were frozen. Lance had heard the shot echo. His friends looked at each other. "You think it went through?" Lance said. "If it hit someone, they'd be screaming. Nobody's screaming. It probably just lodged in the wall. Calm down." But Lance couldn't calm down. He walked up to the wall, put his eye to the small hole. He could see the light from room 348. The bullet had gone clean through. Lance's mind started racing. He walked to the bathroom, grabbed the complimentary toothpaste from the counter, came back, squeezed it into the bullet hole, smoothed it over. White wall, white toothpaste, perfect match. Then he picked up the gun, ran downstairs, hid it in his truck, and came back up like nothing happened. The 3 of them made a pact. Nobody says anything. Nobody knows anything. We were just drinking. That's all. The next morning, September 16th, 2 alarms went off at the same time. Susie, Greg's wife, was calling him. He always called her in the morning, without fail. This morning, silence. And across town, Greg's office employees were waiting. Greg was never late. Not once, not ever. Today, his chair was empty. 4 of his employees drove to the MCM Elegante Hotel, knocked on room 348. No answer. The hotel used a master key. The door opened a few inches, then stopped. The security chain was latched from the inside. Through the gap, they saw Greg, face down on the carpet, motionless. Police arrived, paramedics arrived. Room was intact. Nothing disturbed, nothing stolen. No signs of a fight. Everyone agreed, natural death, probably cardiac arrest, and they were wrong. The doctors performed a routine autopsy. First look, natural death, confirmed. But then they looked closer, and what they found made them put down their tools and stare. Greg's private area, severely swollen, dried fluid around the wound. The swelling extended all the way to his hips. Someone, or something, had struck him with extreme force in his most sensitive area. They opened him up. His intestines were torn in multiple places. Massive internal bleeding throughout the abdominal cavity. 2 ribs, cracked and broken, and his heart, punctured from the inside. The doctors said, injuries like these only happen in one of 2 ways. Either a massive accident, a truck hitting you at full speed, or someone beating you with extreme violence. But there was 0 external damage, not a scratch, not a bruise, not a mark. The doctors wrote it down as blunt force trauma by unknown object. A murder with no murder weapon, in a room locked from the inside, with no suspect. The police were completely lost. They questioned every guest on the floor. They questioned the electrician, the last person to see Greg alive. He had a prior criminal record for theft. They pushed him hard. He maintained his innocence. The timeline cleared him. They questioned Lance and his 2 friends, room 349. All 3 denied everything. We were drinking. We heard nothing. We know nothing. Weeks turned to months. 2010 turned to 2011. The headlines faded. The file gathered dust. And the case was heading toward being permanently unsolved, until Susie refused to let it go. Susie was having nightmares. Every night, she'd wake up in a cold sweat. In her dreams, Greg kept appearing. Same words every time. Find who did this. She went to the police, told them, either you solve this or get out of my way. The police handed her the entire case file, every photograph, every report, every dead end. Susie hired a private detective, a man named Kane. Kane did something simple that the police had never done. He went back to room 348, 6 months after the murder, and he walked through it slowly, methodically, not looking for what was obvious, looking for what was almost invisible. He pulled out a magnifying glass and started scanning every inch of that room. On the wall shared with room 349, he found something tiny, a small, barely visible mark, round, clean, filled with something white. Kane walked out of room 348, walked into room 349, found the same spot on that wall, took out a small knife, started scraping. Out came toothpaste, and behind the toothpaste, a bullet hole, clean through both walls, perfectly aligned with the exact position Greg had been found in. The case broke open overnight. Lance's 2 friends were picked up first. Under pressure, they cracked, told the police everything. Lance was arrested in June 2011. He admitted to the shooting. He said after the shot, when the autopsy results came out, he was shocked that the police never found the bullet inside Greg's body. And here's the chilling part. The doctors had made a mistake in the first autopsy. They had missed the bullet entirely. It was only after Kane's discovery that Greg's body was exhumed, a second autopsy performed, and this time they found it, the bullet, lodged near his heart, the final, undeniable proof. When sentencing day arrived, the entire family was in that courtroom. Greg's relatives, his employees, and Susie. Lance sat there, still refusing to fully accept what he'd done. No guilt, no remorse, just denial. And then Susie stood up. She walked past the lawyers. She walked past the judge. She stood directly in front of Lance, face to face, and she said, "You took my husband. You shattered my family. You destroyed my children's father, and you've never once admitted what you did. You're the most selfish human being I have ever seen. All the evidence is against you, and you still sit there acting innocent. But hear me when I say this. I will spend the rest of my life making sure you don't forget. When you get out of prison, whenever that is, I will be waiting, and I will take your life the same way you took his. She said that, in open court, in front of the judge, the jury, and every person in that room. The judge sentenced Lance to 10 years, with the possibility of parole after 5. His 2 friends each received 2 years. Lance has since been released. Whether Susie kept her promise, nobody knows. There are no updates, no records, no reports, just silence, which honestly might be the most unsettling part of this entire story. Before I go, I need to ask you something. You're staying in a hotel tonight. You don't know who's in the room next to you. You don't know what they brought with them. You don't know what they're doing just inches away from your wall. Does that change how you'll sleep tonight? And here's the real question I want you to think about. If Lance had never touched that toothpaste, if he just left that bullet hole open, would this case have ever been solved? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this story hit you the way it hit me, subscribe to 12A Show right now. Daily, real cases, real people, real consequences. The stories that don't make headlines, the deaths that almost went unnoticed, the killers who almost got away. Hit subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next one. Because trust me, the next case is even harder to believe than this one.